In J.R.R. Tolkien's epic saga, The Lord of the Rings, one of the most captivating transformations is that of Gandalf, the Grey Wizard, returning as Gandalf the White. This transformation is not merely a change in title or attire, but a profound evolution in power, purpose, and identity. But why did the Grey Wizard return as the White? What significance does this transformation hold within the broader narrative of Middle-earth? In this video, we will explore the reasons behind Gandalf's return as the White and how this transformation impacts the fate of the world during the War of the Ring. Gandalf the Grey was one of the 5 Istari, or wizards, sent by the Valar to Middle-earth during the Third Age. His mission, like that of the other wizards, was to aid the Free Peoples in their struggle against Sauron, the Dark Lord. Unlike the more powerful beings like the Valar or Maiar, Gandalf and the other Istari were bound in human form, limiting their powers and requiring them to work subtly through influence and counsel rather than overt displays of might. Gandalf's role as the Grey Wizard was characterized by his deep wisdom, humility, and tireless dedication to the task of uniting the various peoples of Middle-earth against the growing threat of Sauron. Gandalf's approach to his mission was one of guidance and support. He never sought to dominate or rule, instead choosing to empower others to act against the forces of darkness. His wisdom was evident in his deep understanding of the peoples and cultures of Middle-earth. Gandalf forged relationships with many of the key figures in the world, including Elrond, Galadriel, and Aragorn. He was a frequent visitor to the Shire, recognizing the importance of the seemingly insignificant hobbits in the grand scheme of things, a foresight that proved crucial to the success of the quest to destroy the One Ring. However, as Gandalf the Grey, he was not without limitations. His power, while considerable, was restricted by the Valar's decree that the Istari should not match Sauron in direct combat, but should work through the peoples of Middle-earth. This constraint often placed Gandalf in difficult situations, where he had to rely on wisdom and subtlety, rather than sheer strength. His struggles with Saruman, who had fallen to corruption, further complicated his mission. Saruman, originally the head of the Order of the Istari, had betrayed his purpose by seeking power for himself, becoming a significant adversary to Gandalf and the forces of good. The Grey Wizard's limitations were also evident in his occasional doubts and uncertainties. Though wise, Gandalf did not have all the answers and was often faced with difficult decisions, such as whether to trust Frodo with the ring or how to deal with the treachery of Saruman. His role was that of a guide who led others but also learned and grew along the way. This aspect of his character made him relatable and human, despite his divine origins. The journey of Gandalf the Grey culminated in a defining moment within the Mines of Moria. The Fellowship of the Ring, tasked with the perilous mission of destroying the One Ring, found themselves deep within these ancient dwarven halls, now a place of darkness and peril. It was here that Gandalf faced one of the most formidable enemies of Middle-earth, the Balrog of Morgoth, a demon of the ancient world. The encounter between Gandalf and the Balrog was not just a battle between two powerful beings. It was a clash of ancient forces, both of whom had existed long before the ages of men. The Balrog, a corrupted Maiar like Gandalf, was a remnant of a bygone era, a creature of fire and shadow that had once served Morgoth, the first Dark Lord. Its presence in Moria was a dark stain on the land, a reminder of the ancient evils that still lingered in Middle-earth. As the Fellowship attempted to flee across the bridge of Khazad-dûm, Gandalf made the fateful decision to confront the Balrog, understanding the dire consequences if the creature was allowed to pursue them. His famous command, "You cannot pass," was not just a challenge to the Balrog, but a declaration of his willingness to sacrifice himself for the sake of the quest. The ensuing battle was one of raw power and elemental fury, as Gandalf called upon all his strength to hold back the Balrog. The confrontation on the bridge was a test of Gandalf's resolve and his commitment to his mission. Despite the Balrog's immense power, Gandalf stood firm, using his staff and sword to challenge the creature. The bridge, a narrow and ancient structure, became the stage for this titanic struggle. In the end, Gandalf succeeded in breaking the bridge beneath the Balrog, sending it plunging into the abyss. However, as the Balrog fell, it lashed out with its whip, ensnaring Gandalf and pulling him down into the darkness. This moment marked the apparent end of Gandalf the Gray. The Fellowship, now leaderless and grief-stricken, believed they had lost their guide and protector. However, Gandalf's fall was not the end, but the beginning of a transformation that would reshape the course of the War of the Ring. The battle with the Balrog was a crucible, a trial by fire in which Gandalf's true nature was tested and refined. His fall into the depths of Moria was symbolic of a descent into death, a journey through darkness that would ultimately lead to his rebirth. After his fall into the abyss, Gandalf's journey did not end. He fought the Balrog for 2 days and nights, a battle that spanned the depths of the earth and the heights of the world. This struggle was as much spiritual as it was physical, with Gandalf's very essence being tested against the ancient evil of the Balrog. The battle culminated on the peak of Zirakzigil, where Gandalf finally defeated the Balrog, but at a great cost. His mortal form was spent, and his spirit departed from the world of the living. In this moment of death, Gandalf's fate lay in the hands of the Valar, the powerful beings who had sent him to Middle-earth. The Valar, led by Manwë, had always watched over the world, guiding it according to the will of Eru Ilúvatar, the creator of all. Gandalf, or Olorin as he was known in the West, was one of their own, a Maya who had taken on the form of an old man to serve the cause of good in Middle-earth. Now, having fulfilled his role as Gandalf the Gray, he was called back to the halls of the Valar. The intercession of the Valar was a crucial turning point in Gandalf's journey. Recognizing the importance of his mission and the need for his continued presence in Middle-earth, the Valar chose to send him back. But not as he was before. Gandalf was resurrected, his spirit returned to a renewed body, but this time he was no longer Gandalf the Gray. He was reborn as Gandalf the White, a figure of greater power and authority. This transformation was a divine act, a reaffirmation of the Valar's commitment to the fight against Sauron. The process of Gandalf's resurrection was shrouded in mystery, reflective of the deep spiritual themes that run throughout Tolkien's work. It was not simply a return to life, but a renewal and elevation of Gandalf's purpose. As Gandalf the White, he was now the leader of the Istari, a position that had been held by Saruman before his fall into corruption. The white robe symbolized purity, wisdom, and power, marking Gandalf as the foremost of the wizards and a direct agent of the Valar's will in Middle-earth. This intercession also emphasized the theme of hope and renewal that is central to Tolkien's mythology. Gandalf's return as the White Wizard was a beacon of hope in a time of growing darkness. It was a sign that even in the face of overwhelming evil, the forces of good would not abandon the world. The Valar's decision to send Gandalf back was not just an act of mercy, but a strategic move in the cosmic battle against Sauron, ensuring that Middle-earth would not be left defenseless in its most desperate hour. In conclusion, Gandalf's return as the White was a multifaceted transformation, deeply rooted in the spiritual and mythological framework of Tolkien's world. It was a journey through death and rebirth, a divine intervention that reaffirmed the moral order of Middle-earth. Gandalf the White emerged not just as a more powerful figure, but as a symbol of hope, resilience, and the unyielding fight against the forces of darkness. His transformation was a pivotal moment in the narrative of The Lord of the Rings, setting the stage for the final confrontation with Sauron and the ultimate victory of good over evil. Gandalf's return as Gandalf the White marked a profound shift in his role, abilities, and purpose within the unfolding epic of The Lord of the Rings. The transformation from grey to white was not merely a change in color, but a significant elevation in his status and power. This metamorphosis reflected a deeper alignment with the forces of good and a more direct role in the battle against Sauron. As Gandalf the White, he was imbued with greater authority, strength, and clarity of purpose, which allowed him to fulfill his mission in ways that were beyond the reach of Gandalf the Gray. One of the most notable changes in Gandalf after his return was the enhancement of his powers. As Gandalf the Gray, his magic was subtle and often limited by the need to work within the constraints imposed by the Valar. He was cautious, rarely using his powers in overt displays, and preferred to influence events through wisdom and counsel rather than force. However, as Gandalf the White, his powers were significantly amplified. He was now the leader of the Istari, a position that had originally belonged to Saruman. This shift in rank was more than symbolic. It signified that Gandalf was now the most powerful of the wizards and the primary representative of the Valar's will in Middle-earth. Gandalf the White demonstrated his enhanced abilities on several occasions, most notably in his confrontations with Saruman and Sauron's forces. His authority over Saruman was clear when he broke Saruman's staff and cast him out of the Order of the Istari. This act was not just a display of power, but a reassertion of the moral and spiritual order in Middle-earth. Saruman, who had succumbed to pride and ambition, was no longer fit to lead, and Gandalf's new role as the White Wizard symbolized the triumph of humility and wisdom over arrogance and corruption. The transformation also granted Gandalf a greater capacity for direct intervention in the affairs of Middle-earth. While Gandalf the Grey often worked behind the scenes, subtly guiding events, Gandalf the White took a more active and visible role. He became a leader who could rally armies and command the respect of kings. His presence at critical moments such as the Battle of Helm's Deep and the Siege of Minas Tirith was instrumental in turning the tide against Sauron's forces. These actions reflected his new status as a figure of both spiritual and temporal authority, capable of wielding power not just in the form of magic, but through leadership and strategic insight. Gandalf the White also possessed a heightened sense of purpose and clarity. Where Gandalf the Grey had occasionally struggled with doubt or uncertainty, the White Wizard was resolute and unwavering in his mission. His experiences in death and resurrection had refined his understanding of the stakes involved in the struggle against Sauron. He knew that the survival of Middle-earth depended on the destruction of the One Ring and the defeat of the Dark Lord. This clarity of purpose allowed him to focus all his efforts on ensuring that the free peoples were united and prepared for the challenges ahead. This new sense of purpose was evident in Gandalf's interactions with the other characters in the story. He became a figure of authority and guidance, not just to the Fellowship, but to all the peoples of Middle-earth. When Gandalf the White spoke, his words carried the weight of divine authority, and his counsel was heeded by kings, warriors, and common folk alike. His wisdom was no longer just the wisdom of a learned sage, but the insight of one who had seen beyond the veil of death and returned with a deeper understanding of the cosmic battle between good and evil. Gandalf the White's influence extended beyond mere strategy and battle. He became a symbol of hope and resilience, embodying the idea that even in the darkest times, light and goodness could prevail. His very presence was a reminder that the forces of good had not abandoned Middle-earth, and that the Valar, through Gandalf, were still guiding the fate of the world. This symbolic role was crucial in maintaining the morale of the free peoples, especially in moments of despair, such as during the siege of Gondor, when all seemed lost. Gandalf's calm and resolute demeanor in the face of overwhelming odds provided the inspiration needed to continue the fight. Another critical aspect of Gandalf the White's role was his ability to mediate and unite the diverse peoples of Middle-earth. The struggle against Sauron required a unified front, something that had been difficult to achieve due to the various political, cultural, and historical divisions between races and kingdoms. Gandalf's authority and wisdom allowed him to bridge these gaps, bringing together elves, dwarves, men, and hobbits in a common cause. His efforts to rally the Rohirrim to the aid of Gondor, for example, were vital in ensuring that the free peoples stood together against the forces of Mordor. Gandalf the White also played a key role in guiding the members of the Fellowship after their separation. His return provided much-needed leadership to Aragorn, Legolas, and Gimli as they pursued their paths. Gandalf's counsel was crucial in helping Aragorn embrace his destiny as the King of Gondor, a role that was essential for the unification of the free peoples and the eventual victory over Sauron. His guidance to Frodo and Sam, although more indirect, was also pivotal in ensuring that the Ring-Bearers' journey to Mount Doom continued despite the immense challenges they faced. The transformation into Gandalf the White also brought with it a more profound connection to the spiritual and metaphysical aspects of Middle-earth. Gandalf's understanding of the world's deeper realities, such as the nature of the One Ring and the true extent of Sauron's influence, was now more acute. He became more attuned to the will of Eru Ilúvatar and the cosmic struggle between light and darkness. This enhanced understanding allowed Gandalf to make decisions with a greater awareness of their long-term consequences, ensuring that his actions aligned with the ultimate goal of defeating Sauron and restoring balance to Middle-earth. Gandalf the White's transformation can also be seen as a fulfillment of his original purpose as one of the Istari. The wizards were sent to Middle-earth not to rule or dominate, but to help guide and inspire the free peoples to stand against Sauron. As Gandalf the Gray, he had laid the groundwork for this task, but it was as Gandalf the White that he truly came into his own. His leadership, wisdom, and power were now fully realized, enabling him to fulfill his mission in a way that was not possible before his transformation. Moreover, Gandalf the White's role in the narrative underscores the theme of renewal and redemption that runs throughout The Lord of the Rings. Just as the world of Middle-earth was facing a period of darkness and despair, Gandalf's rebirth as the White Wizard symbolized the possibility of renewal, even in the face of death and destruction. His return was a powerful testament to the idea that hope and goodness could be restored, even when all seemed lost. This theme of renewal was echoed in the eventual victory over Sauron and the restoration of peace to Middle-earth, a victory in which Gandalf the White played a central role. In summary, Gandalf the White was a figure of immense power, wisdom, and authority, far surpassing what he had been as Gandalf the Gray. His transformation represented not just an increase in his abilities, but a deeper alignment with the forces of good and a more direct role in the cosmic battle against Sauron. As the White Wizard, Gandalf became a symbol of hope and resilience, a leader who could unite the diverse peoples of Middle-earth and guide them to victory. His enhanced powers, clarity of purpose, and profound spiritual connection to the world's deeper realities made him one of the most pivotal figures in the struggle to defeat Sauron and restore peace to Middle-earth. Gandalf the White's transformation was not just a personal evolution, it had profound implications for the outcome of the War of the Ring and the fate of Middle-earth. His return and elevation to a higher level of power and authority significantly impacted the events that followed, shaping the strategies, decisions, and morale of the free peoples in their desperate struggle against Sauron. Gandalf the White became a key figure in the orchestration of the final efforts to defeat the Dark Lord, and his influence was felt in almost every major event leading up to the downfall of Sauron. One of Gandalf the White's most crucial contributions was his role in rallying the forces of Rohan and Gondor. The kingdom of Rohan was on the brink of destruction, beset by internal strife and Saruman's treachery. The once great king, Theoden, had fallen under the corrupting influence of Grima Wormtongue, an agent of Saruman. The people of Rohan, demoralized and leaderless, were facing the threat of annihilation from Saruman's armies. Gandalf's arrival in Edoras marked a turning point. He freed Theoden from Grima's influence, restoring the king to his former strength and wisdom. This act not only revitalized Theoden, but also reinvigorated the entire kingdom, giving them the strength to resist Saruman's forces. The Battle of Helm's Deep was a critical moment in the War of the Ring, and Gandalf's role was pivotal. He foresaw that the fortress would be attacked and urged the people of Rohan to seek refuge there. His departure to find reinforcements might have seemed like abandonment, but it was a calculated move. Gandalf understood that without additional forces, the defenders of Helm's Deep would not survive the overwhelming numbers of Saruman's army. His timely return at dawn with the riders of Rohan led by Eomer turned the tide of the battle. The sight of Gandalf leading the charge down the slope with the rising sun behind him was a moment of immense symbolism, representing the arrival of hope when all seemed lost. The victory at Helm's Deep was not just a military success, but also a morale booster that demonstrated that the forces of good, under Gandalf's guidance, could prevail against seemingly insurmountable odds. After the defeat of Saruman, Gandalf's attention turned to Gondor, the last great bastion of resistance against Sauron. Gondor was under siege, and the situation was dire. The steward of Gondor, Denethor, had fallen into despair, believing that the war was already lost. Gandalf's arrival in Minas Tirith was again crucial. He assumed a leadership role, effectively taking command of the city's defenses when Denethor's madness rendered him incapable. Gandalf's presence was essential in holding the city together during the siege of Minas Tirith. His wisdom and authority prevented the defenders from falling into panic, and his efforts ensured that the city held out long enough for Aragorn and the forces of Rohan to arrive. The siege of Minas Tirith was one of the most intense battles in the War of the Ring, and Gandalf the White's influence was a key factor in the eventual victory. His leadership in the defense of the city, combined with his ability to inspire the soldiers, played a critical role in maintaining the defense until reinforcements arrived. Gandalf's confrontation with the Witch King of Angmar, Sauron's most powerful servant, was a defining moment in the siege. Although their duel was interrupted, the mere fact that Gandalf could stand against the Witch King demonstrated his immense power and determination. This confrontation also underscored the importance of Gandalf's role as a protector of the free peoples, willing to face down the most terrifying of Sauron's servants to defend the city. Beyond the battlefield, Gandalf's strategic insight was instrumental in shaping the overall approach to the war. He understood that Sauron's strength lay not just in his military power, but in the fear and despair he spread among his enemies. Gandalf's strategy was not merely to win battles, but to maintain hope and unity among the free peoples. His plan to draw Sauron's eye away from Frodo and Sam, who were making their perilous journey to Mount Doom, was a masterstroke of strategy. By leading the armies of Gondor and Rohan to the Black Gate, Gandalf created a distraction that allowed the ring-bearer to move closer to his goal without being detected. This diversion was a gamble, as it involved leading a relatively small force against Sauron's overwhelming numbers, but Gandalf knew that the success of the mission to destroy the ring depended on it. Gandalf's role in the final stages of the War of the Ring also highlighted his deep understanding of the nature of power and corruption. He recognized that even the most well-intentioned individuals could be corrupted by the ring, which is why he never sought to wield it himself, despite his great power. His refusal to take the ring from Frodo in the beginning of the journey was rooted in his awareness that even he could fall under its sway. This humility and self-awareness were part of what made Gandalf such a wise and effective leader. He guided others not through domination or coercion, but through counsel and support, always mindful of the moral and ethical implications of his actions. As the War of the Ring reached its climax, Gandalf's focus shifted to ensuring the survival and renewal of Middle-earth after the defeat of Sauron. He played a crucial role in the coronation of Aragorn as King Elessar, recognizing the importance of restoring the line of kings and ensuring that Gondor would be led by a wise and just ruler in the New Age. Gandalf's support for Aragorn was consistent throughout the story, and his guidance was essential in helping Aragorn embrace his destiny. The restoration of the monarchy in Gondor was a key part of the renewal of Middle-earth, symbolizing the return of order, justice, and peace after the chaos of war. Gandalf's influence extended beyond the immediate aftermath of the war. He was deeply involved in the decisions that would shape the future of the world, such as the reunification of the kingdoms of Arnor and Gondor under Aragorn's rule, the rebuilding of the lands devastated by the war, and the establishment of peace between the different races and cultures of Middle-earth. Gandalf understood that defeating Sauron was only the first step. The true challenge lay in building a new world where the evils of the past would not be repeated. The White Wizard's role in the War of the Ring can also be seen as part of a larger narrative about the passing of an age and the transition from the mythic past to a more human-centered future. Gandalf, as one of the Istari, was a being of great power and wisdom, sent by the Valar to guide the peoples of Middle-earth. However, with Sauron's defeat and the departure of the elves, Gandalf's task was complete. His departure at the end of the story, along with Frodo and the other ring-bearers, marked the end of the Third Age and the beginning of a new era in Middle-earth's history. Gandalf's journey from grey to white and his role in the War of the Ring symbolize the culmination of the efforts of the Valar and the forces of good to rid the world of the last vestiges of the ancient evils that had plagued it for so long. In conclusion, Gandalf the White's impact on the War of the Ring was immense and multifaceted. He was not just a powerful wizard, but a leader, a strategist, and a symbol of hope. His transformation from Gandalf the Grey to Gandalf the White allowed him to fulfill his mission in ways that were crucial to the defeat of Sauron and the restoration of peace to Middle-earth. His role in rallying the forces of Rohan and Gondor, defending Minas Tirith, and guiding the overall strategy of the war was instrumental in the victory over the Dark Lord. Gandalf's wisdom, humility, and unwavering commitment to the cause of good ensured that the free peoples of Middle-earth could overcome the greatest evil of their time and build a new world in its aftermath. His legacy, both as a character and as a symbol, continues to resonate as a representation of the power of wisdom, hope, and perseverance in the face of darkness.